So how do we get the structure of a data frame? How do we know the structure of a data frame? That is the general number of observation in a given data frame, the number of variables, their data types, and the elements that are stored in that data frame. So we'll be using the structure function actually to get to know the structure of the data type. We'll be using the structure function. So the structure of the data type A, and this will give us the structure of the data frame. And of course, it is a data frame. It is a list that is in the class data frame, and the number of observation is 3. The number of variables is 3. The first variable is ID, and it is numeric. The data type is numeric, and it is storing 1, 2, 3. The second variable is name, and the name is data type character, and it is storing Ali, Omar, and Mulhad. The third is salary, and of course it is numeric in nature, and it is storing the salaries as 90,000, 80,000, and 70. That is how we get the structure of a data frame. That is how we get the structure of a data frame. We can as well use the data frame, or rather we can also use the read CVS function to read a CVS file as a data frame. We can read a CVS file as a data frame. That is, we have a file stored in our, let's say, laptop, maybe an Excel file stored as CVS or any file, and we read it as a data frame. So how are we going to do this? So I'll suppose I'll call that, we need to assign the name to that file, of course, and let's call it my data. Let's call it my data. So I'll be using the read.cvs file function. I'll be using that function in order to read that file, but I'll be leaving that file as a data frame. So I'll say read dot CSV. CSV, that is the function. And which file am I reading? Actually, what we are reading is a file. What we are reading is a file. And where is this file located? So we need to get the location of this file. We need to get the location of this file. So what I'll do, I'm having a file here on my desktop. So when I click on properties, it will tell us the location of this file. So this is the location. So I'll simply type here the location of that file. So the location of that file is in the disk C. It is in the disk C users, and the U is capital users, like that. Then we have a prof Tulu, prof dot Tulu, and it is in caps Tulu, like that. And again it is on desktop. It is on desktop. It is on desktop. And what is the name of the file? What is the name of the file? The name of the file is actually oxygen. So I'll be having oxygen as the name of the file. And what is the extension? The type of the file, it is xt. So dot txt, dot txt. So that is the file, the location of the file. So I'll close that, and I'll be having a comma. And then, of course, if we need to have the titles of the column, we will have header equals true. So header equals true. Header equals true. And we can separate the elements with a comma. So separate the elements using a comma, like that. And that will be reading my CSV file, the oxygen file, into the R software as a data frame, So when I say my data, when I print my data, it will give me the data in R, as you can see. So when I want to know the number of columns, I can get to know the number of columns. So I'll say column of data, the data frame data, and I get to know that the number of columns is 1. The number of rows, the number of rows of my data, the number of row of my data, it is 20. And I can have the structure, so we can carry out different operations to get to manipulate the data frame. So to select a column, suppose we want to select a column in a given data frame. So we were having our data frame as A, and it is having 3 columns. That is the ID, the salary, and the name. So suppose I want to select a column. There are different ways I can select a column. How is that? I can use the name of that particular column. Suppose we want the column names. So suppose we want the column names. I'll be using the name of that column. I'll be using the address of that column. So the name of the list, the name of the data frame, of course, and then the address of that column we want to retrieve. And here I'll be having the column names, the names as Ali, Omar, and Mulhat. Again, I can decide not to use the square brackets, but instead we can use the $ followed by the name of the list, the $, and the address. So I can have the $, and I have names here, and that will give me the column. But we realize when we use the $, the columns are printed in a row form, but when you use the square bracket, they are printed in column form. So you can opt to use the best for you. Again, we can use the address. We know that actually names is in the second position, so we can use the address, and that will give the same output. So there are different ways that we can select the column of a given data frame. So suppose I want to modify a certain element of a given data frame. I want to modify the element. Suppose, let's say, I need to change the second name. I need to change here, let's say, the second name Omar to some other name. Suppose Omar is fired from the company, and we say maybe Saif is employed to the company. So we need to change the name Omar to Saif. How are we going to do this? We will use certain functions to do this, and this is very easy. Actually, all you need to know is the name of the data frame. Of course, the name of the data frame is A, and we need to know the position of that element, or that element we want to change. So suppose we want to change the name Omar to Saif. That is, you realize Omar is in the first. It is in the second row, second column. It is in the second row, second column. So I'll come and say here on the second row, second column, we are modifying that. Change that name to Saif. And with that, the name Omar is changed to Saif. So when I print A, you realize that actually we are having our second element here as Saif, and the salary is 80,000. So that is how we modify the elements of a data frame. All you need to know is the name of the data frame and the position of that